Hey guys, so something a bit different today. Now I have experience with custom shells for Joy-Cons and the regular Nintendo Switch, but I have been waiting for the Switch Lite to finally get something. This is the gray one that I have here, and finally there are some replacement shells available. The main difference is that in order to get this off, you see that this bezel is kind of built in or like glued into the actual frame. You're gonna have to heat gun the actual display completely off to get it onto the new shell. That's the main complicated part. So I haven't really done too much research into how to do this, so I'm just gonna kind of go for it, and this is just gonna document my failures. Okay. Again, this is not really meant to be a step-by-step guide or a how-to, just kind of showing you guys along, and hopefully we end up with a decently good-looking end result. So I ended up going with the white model. There's a couple of different clear ones, or atomic clear, or whatever you want to call it. I think it was just clear, like a smokier clear, and purple. I think those are the only ones that I really remember right now. I much prefer a solid color like this. I wish there was some other things or some more choices that we had, but for now, I'm definitely thankful we have anything to begin with. Okay, let's go ahead and get this going. And of course, being Nintendo, it looks like they're using the tri-wing screws, so you make sure you have something handy. I know in some of the kits for the regular Nintendo Switch, it actually comes with a little mini screwdriver. So just make sure that you have something on hand, because this kit doesn't come with anything like that. Apart from making sure that it's actually off, which is what I just did, should have done that before, make sure that you have an SD card removed. And if you have any game card, I don't think I have anything, make sure you take that out as well. I don't see any hidden screws under there like it was on the original Switch. Don't see anything under the game card either. So I think apart from these four, it looks like maybe just the two on the bottom should give us access, and these, strangely enough, are Phillips, so I'll get something small for that. Oh, it looks like there's actually two more Phillips at the top by the shoulder buttons. Okay, with that removed, I think that is about it in terms of the visible screws. So I'm just going to start at the speaker hole and gently try to pry around, and it separates pretty well without too much of a hassle. Hopefully you can see that there. That didn't sound like a clean snap. Hopefully that wasn't anything important. Looks like my Switch decided to turn back on, so just gonna make sure and turn this back off. And one thing that helped me to get this off completely is to actually go in through the game card slot and kind of lift up from the shell right there. It's kind of stuck. But yeah, that came off easy enough. Now I'm sure everything else is gonna be a lot more annoying than it was on the original. Okay, apart from taking the shoulder buttons off, or the lower shoulder buttons off, I'm just going to go ahead and attack this metal shield. Hopefully that comes off without too big of a hassle. Right, that came off easy enough. There's actually a little bit of thermal paste, looks like, connecting the heat pipe to this metal shield so it could spread the heat around. Now, this is where I'm sure it's going to get a lot more dicey. Basically, I'm gonna have to remove the entire board, buttons and everything away from this. So yeah, we'll see when I get back to that. So as you saw, I had quite a bit of trouble getting everything back together, and that's because I was not very attentive of the screws that I was using. I just unscrewed everything all at once, threw the screws everywhere, and that caused me a big headache when I was putting it back together. Now, if you are doing this, please be patient. I would highly recommend organizing the screws. You could, try to plot where they're supposed to be physically placed, or at the very least, just organize them by size. One thing that I wish the instructional video, which I'll link below, I wish that did, is tell you what kind of screw goes back in. I mean, I guess if you did a well enough job or a good enough job of doing that yourself, you wouldn't really have to rely on somebody else telling you. But please just make sure that you watch what screws you take out so you know which kind of screws to put back in, because I ended up with some extra screws and I was missing some screws that I needed, but that were a different kind. So it was just a weird situation, but thankfully everything fit together pretty well. No real complaints here. I do love how this kind of came together. I left the gray bezel. I know it comes with a screen protector with a black border. If you have one of the other more colorful switches, you're probably going to want to actually use that, but since I already had the gray one, I think the gray really complements it, the whole aesthetic pretty well, especially with this case. This is the hybrid case from Hori. It's one of those officially licensed one. I'll leave a link to that and to the kit that I used in general all down below if I recall. One of the minor things that I had an issue with, and I'll try to put it up here on camera, is right underneath the joystick. I'm not sure if that's going to actually show up very well. There is a slight bump because when I was putting it back together, I tried to use a screw that was longer than it needed to be for that. So it ended up pushing up slightly against the plastic. I mean, I felt the resistance, so I kind of pulled back, but it was too late. The damage was done. Thankfully, with the white, it's not that noticeable. The colorful buttons, I'm really glad I went with those because that just kind of draws everyone's eyes to that. But I love how this came together. Just make sure that if you're going to be putting this together, please be patient. Please be organized. That will save you a gigantic headache and a heck of a lot of time. Now, if you have any questions about this, the case, anything that I use, I'll try to link those down below. Feel free to leave a comment. If you're interested in anything else, let me know. Other than that, you have a good day. See ya.